Hey everyone, today we're diving into the mind of a man who changed the way we understand pain, guilt, and the human soul. His name is Fyodor Dostoevsky, a genius who never truly got the recognition he deserved. He wasn't just a writer, he was a survivor, a thinker, a man who turned his suffering into timeless art. In this video, we'll explore the darkness and light inside his world, the moments that broke him, and the words that still heal millions today. So if you love deep stories, powerful minds, and reflections about life, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Welcome to Midnight Horror Stories. There are writers who describe the world as it is, and then there are those who describe the world as it feels. Fyodor Dostoevsky was one of them, a man who didn't just write about the human soul, he entered it. He lived inside the darkness of guilt, pain, and faith, and came back with stories that still burn like sacred fire. In the cold streets of 19th century Russia, Dostoevsky walked not as a hero, but as a broken witness. His eyes carried the weight of prison walls, and his hands trembled with the memory of death itself. He once stood before a firing squad, sentenced to die, but fate delayed its breath. The rifles were lowered, his life was spared, only moments before the trigger was pulled. From that moment, every day became a miracle, and every word he wrote carried the echo of death and rebirth. He wrote because he had survived. And those who survive write differently. Dostoevsky's sentences do not simply tell stories, they open wounds. When you read Crime and Punishment, you don't just meet Raskolnikov. You meet yourself in your darkest hour. You hear your own voice whisper, "What if I did something unforgivable? Could I ever be redeemed?" Dostoevsky believed that the deepest truth of the human heart is not goodness or evil, but contradiction. He saw that we are divided creatures, capable of compassion, and cruelty capable of believing and doubting at the same moment. He wrote of sinners who dream of becoming saints, and saints who secretly long to sin. Perhaps that is why his books feel alive, because they speak the language of our own confusion. They whisper, "You are not alone in your struggle. Someone has felt this before." Dostoevsky's genius was not in his intellect, though he was brilliant, but in his suffering. He understood that suffering purifies the soul, that only through pain does a person see what love truly means. In The Brothers Karamazov, he asks, "If God does not exist, is everything permitted?" It is not a question for philosophers. It is a cry from a heart that has seen too much injustice. For Dostoevsky, the greatest mystery was not the existence of evil, but the possibility of forgiveness. How can a murderer find grace? How can the betrayed still love? His characters stumble through moral chaos, searching not for perfection, but for mercy. And perhaps that is why his stories never age, because we are still searching for the same thing. In The Idiot, Prince Mishkin is called a fool for believing in pure goodness. Yet Dostoevsky knew. The world mocks innocence because it fears it. He believed that true strength lies not in power, but in compassion. That a single act of love can save a soul drowning in despair. But Dostoevsky also warned us. Love without suffering is an illusion. He saw the world as a battlefield, not between nations, but within every human heart. One side whispers, "You are free to do anything." The other whispers, "But you will answer for everything." In that endless struggle between freedom and conscience, Dostoevsky found his art. He turned guilt into literature, despair into poetry, and the human contradiction into beauty. He was not interested in happy endings. He believed that redemption is born in the dirt. In the moment a sinner kneels and says, "I have fallen, but I still want to believe." Every novel he wrote was a conversation with God, sometimes whispered, sometimes screamed. And even when he doubted, his doubt itself became a kind of faith. Faith in the struggle, faith in the question, faith in the fragile light that survives inside the darkness. Dostoevsky was not a saint. He gambled, he suffered from illness, he lived in debt. But his weakness made him closer to us. He understood that the human soul is not made of perfection. It's made of contradictions held together by hope. His wife once said that even when he laughed, there was sorrow in his eyes, as if he knew joy could vanish at any second. That is the secret of his writing. It feels alive because it fears death. It shines because it knows darkness. To read Dostoevsky is to stand in front of a mirror, one that reflects not your face, but your conscience. He forces you to ask, who am I when no one is watching? What would I do if forgiveness cost everything? His stories don't give answers. They leave you trembling in silence, staring into your own heart. Today, his words still echo, not in the libraries of scholars, but in the sleepless minds of anyone who has ever loved, lost, or doubted. In a world obsessed with noise and distraction, Dostoevsky reminds us that true transformation begins in silence, when we stop pretending and finally face who we are. Perhaps that is why he still speaks to us, because we are still sinners searching for grace, still wanderers seeking home. Fyodor Dostoevsky, the man who found heaven in suffering, light in despair, and eternity in the fragile heart of man. His words were not written for the mind alone. They were written for the soul, the wounded, restless, beautiful soul that still dares to believe.